Every time people listen to our intro, they're probably like, what the hell?
What do you mean?
There's always like a stop in the middle of it, and then like we say something, and then the music starts playing again.
Is that the... Well, I don't even hear it. So, I cannot fix what I do not know.
Why'd you stop it?
I mean, no, they don't hear that pause. I stopped it because I had to turn on my microphone, and then I started recording again.
Well, they probably heard me then.
They probably heard you, or I think they heard me say it wasn't on, because it was still paused there. But, all that fun stuff aside, how are you? How are you this morning?
I'm all right. Yeah, a little disappointed.
A little disappointed in the fights?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know. They were good fights. It's just like,
Not the outcome you wanted?
not the outcome I wanted, and then just the ending kind of put a damper on things, because that's what everybody was talking about afterward. Is like,
Yeah,
could have been such a better ending, like, to talk about.
I'll say this. On these airwaves, I did say Khabib is like he's like a feral dog. He's like a... No disrespect when I say that. I say that as, I like Khabib. I like the way...
Yeah, well, his teammates are a bunch of cowards, so...
Yeah, I mean... Maybe we should we introduce what... Well, actually, you want to talk about the other fights first before you get into Conor and Khabib?
Yeah.
Like the other fights that came up before? Because it was a good slate.
It was good.
Like most of them delivered, yeah.
Pettis and that other one was Fight of the Night.
Anthony Ferguson?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Tony,
that was...
Yeah, Tony Ferguson.
Tony Ferguson, Anthony Ferguson.
Yeah.
Pettis.
It was a good fight. I don't know if it deserved Fight of the Night.
That was a weird fight. Like
they were doing some just dumb looking shit.
Yeah, they were like, it looked like they were more in there for like, let's make the circus act. You know what I'm saying?
Like Conor McGregor and the Khabib fight. That one was like so like just based on like skill that like probably nobody even liked watching it.
Yeah,
because it was all like on the ground grappling, like shit like that.
It was all just grappling and control.
Yeah. That other fight was probably like fighters watched it and were like, what the hell?
Yeah, I mean, Anthony Pettis tried to do this thing where like he did like a handstand and like kicked him with his feet.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? It was like nothing behind. It literally looked like a movie like kind of kick, Yeah. Like, I mean, like, he's kind of known for that. That's why they call him Showtime Pettis. But, like, he did, like, the kick off the cage. I think he was reading his own press clippings a little bit on that fight. Like, was like, I'm going to...
Ferguson's lucky that Pettis didn't just wallop him. He did a front roll.
Yeah.
He tried to get away by doing like, not even just, like, a nice, like, cool spy-looking front roll. Like, a slow-ass, like...
Oh, and like it looked like when a baby kind of tumbles forward, like like they just kind of fall over their head. Like that's what it kind of looked like. And he tried to do that to get out of there, and like it didn't work. Started getting kicked.
Yeah, I was like, jeez.
Yeah, I mean, but that was I would actually put the Lewis fight as the fight of the night because like
that one was good. They got the bonuses.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got the performance bonuses.
Can you look up see if those numbers are out? How many pay-per-views it hit?
Dana was reading something from it. UFC 229. Oh, 229.
Yeah, because I mean, I feel like it was pretty big. Like,
yeah.
Just sitting here waiting on some numbers.
Financial breakdown.
Probably
not the person doing looking shit up,
Yeah, I'm the better Googler of the two.
The gate is going to be 17 million. White continued. There are going to be celebrities.
We're waiting for some numbers. Gonna get some information.
This is a bunch of dumb bullshit. Like, people need to learn how to write better articles about this shit.
All right, so we'll just say that we don't know that for now. We'll assume that it's nowhere. It doesn't exist. Those numbers. They have to hand count them. They have to knock on doors. Did you order it? Nope.
Yeah, I mean,
knock. Did you order it? Yes. That's one.
It's just so dumb. Like, they have a bunch of different stuff, but it doesn't show. Just like, I want, like, all you need is one thing at the top. Pay-per-view numbers. Bam. There's your number. Like, why the hell do you have to write a whole article about it?
Yeah, but back to the fights quickly. Just You know, for me, I think the Lewis fight was the fight of the night just because, like, he was getting dominated, and then, like,
last minute
30, with, like, 30 seconds left, like, he ended up catching him with this, with a freaking killer right hand. It didn't look like, you know, you never really notice it until you see it in slow motion, and then you see, like,
the jaw.
Yeah. It was a Russian dude, right?
Yeah.
Like, so that Russian guy's, like, his head, like, snapped all the way to the right.
Yeah, it was a Russian dude.
And then, you know, I mean, it's a shame what happened at the end because it overlooks all that stuff. But, like, he would have been the talk of the night, I think, had it not been for the way the Conor fight ended. But he gave a great, like, interview, right?
Yeah. Trump called him.
Yeah, wait, play it.
Okay.
My balls is hot. I understand. Listen, man, what you just did was absolutely phenomenal. That was an incredible comeback victory, and it shows one of the reasons why people love to watch you fight, that you can put it all to bed with one shot. I told the boys, I ain't all that technical and all that, but I'm getting there. No one will question your heart, sir, after this. This is a come-from-behind knockout, the likes that we haven't seen in a long time. And you were looking for that big haymaker all night. You found it in the last minute of the fight. I forgot a few hours before the fight, Donald Trump called me and told me I got knocked this Russian out. You know, him and Putin. They're talking about... Listen, Derek, you came into this fight. You're absolutely one of the top guys in line for a shot at the title next. So tell us what you think about that. I need to sit my black ass down and do some more cardio.
You need to sit my black ass down and do some more cardio.
Listen, Derek, you're one of the most guys in the sport. Congratulations on an amazing victory, and thank you very much for a really, really entertaining fight.
All right. That was awesome. Trump called me and said we gotta kick this motherfucker like Putin's ass. How come we got like the edited version? It wasn't edited on the night.
Oh, I don't know. They put it on YouTube, I guess.
Who edited it? What a penzie. Like that, like remember
funny, though,
the Ferguson and the Pettis, like their afterwards interview was like, I fucking fucked him up and shit, and like I don't know, like it was shitty, like getting the fucking shit fuck and fuck man. All right.
I mean, these guys do get punched in the head for a living. So.
Yeah.
I doubt their vocabulary is that huge.
Yeah, right. They don't spend their days looking at the dictionary when they're not in the cage. Apparently,
yeah, they use the dictionary for
that would
punch it,
yeah,
rip it in half.
Yeah. Oh, perfect. An encyclopedia. Thank you. I just fucked that book up and shit, and it was fucking shit. That book. That was. Yeah, I mean, those are two pretty good interviews.
Yeah, no, it was hilarious.
Yeah, but I mean, the Pettis Ferguson fight just totally crazy. They were doing all.
Miss a fight?
Out of the main cards, I think maybe there was a fight because we were switching back and forth between that and baseball. I think we might have missed the.
Because the guy who I was telling you about, his name's Nick Lentz. So, like, here's the other one that I was telling you about, because, you know, we were talking about the Trump-Putin thing.
Yeah.
So this is Nick Lentz, and this was at UFC 229, so maybe they fought before the...
Yeah, this might have been a prelim fight,
yeah.
Or this might have been before the... I think we saw everything from, like, the women featherweight division.
Yeah. So
who was that, Watson, I think?
It. Okay. So this was his interview.
By TKO, Nick the First and foremost, I want to give out a shout out to my homie Brett Kavanaugh. Special K. I want to give out a shout out to my homie.
He said, way to go, Special K.
Kavanaugh's drinking a beer to that one.
Cheers.
Hell yeah!
Oh, man, dude. It's crazy.
Wow, that's funny. Although once again buried because they got every post fight thing got progressively a little crazier.
Right.
You know, maybe you could say from Lewis saying my balls were hot was a little drop off from Ferguson and Tony Pettis not knowing any words but fucking shit. Maybe that's a little dip, but then it spiked back up. But,
man, I don't know. It's one of those things. I watched it and I don't know. It's not the kind of fight I like to watch. Really,
which fight?
The last one.
The Conor versus Khabib.
Like, I want knockouts. Like,
yeah, well then you should have loved the Ferguson Pettis fight. Do some dance fighting, some.
See, but like even that though, it was just like that was goofy.
Yeah.
Like I like the Derek Lewis knockout.
Yeah.
Like I was like that one is just two big guys lumbering at each other.
Yeah.
Hitting each other. Like, and who falls first?
Yeah, and then until like you get dominated for a bunch of rounds until he just clocks you with a with a cement hand right. I mean, his head like it tried to swivel off his shoulder a little bit. Like, he got so tagged.
I was just saying, I was watching the different stuff with surfing through Twitter too. It was just looking at the Conor fight, and people were like, "Oh, it was over." When I guess that one round that Khabib was like on top of him throwing a bunch of punches.
Yeah,
and Conor was kind of pushing him off with his feet.
I think that was like the end of the third.
Yeah, it was like, I mean, Conor still seemed okay after that.
I don't know.
Like,
to me, I think it was over like the second that he did they were I mean, to me it was over pretty quickly. Like, I mean, of course he could have won. Hindsight is 20/20. But the second that he came in with like a far out like darting single to his on his like ankle, basically just got a hold of him and was able to eventually take him down from that. He stuffed the initial takedown, but then he just like came back like he does and got him down, and then spent the rest of the first on there. The second it went to that, it was like it's that it gassed Conor a little bit, even though he still had some energy, and you just knew that like Khabib was going to be in his element from there on out. Like if there was any chance, it was going to be that he was a little jittery like early, and like he could have like caught him or he could have kept distance, but once you get settled into the fight, like doing what you're used to, I think from then on Khabib just kind of controlled him. I mean, it was never that close. Like Conor never really even had a moment. I mean, he got tagged standing up, So the fight was pretty much dominated by Khabib. Here's a question that I was having a little bit of a conversation with a friend about it, but he was kind of drunk, so like I didn't continue it, But he came in saying like that he thinks this is gonna like destroy Conor's like legacy.
No.
Yeah, I don't think so, right?
Close.
Like to me, it's like it just says more about how good Khabib is. Yeah. Like Conor didn't go out there and totally embarrass himself. You know what I mean?
He's stuck in there for
quite
a while.
He wasn't getting taken down at will. Like he stuffed almost half of his takedowns. Like I think 4 for 7 or something like that.
Yeah.
So I mean, he just got outclassed by a better fighter, but he wasn't embarrassed, and he certainly seemed like he trained well for it. Like he came in shape, and they were trying. There was nothing there to take. Like you were waiting for your moment, and the moment never materialized because he takes you on the ground and he controls you. If he was willing to. I mean, there was a few times where they were standing nose to nose, and like sparring, trading a little bit, but you know what I mean.
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah, but there wasn't like a ton of that.
That's why it was like such a boring fight to me. Like I'm just a terrible fan. Like I don't like those kind of fights.
You're a casual fan, and you don't like you've never grappled or anything like that, right?
No, not really. I mean, here and there with buddies, but not anything crazy.
No, I don't mean that. I don't mean the grab ass.
I mean we did like a.
No, I mean like
was more boxing though. We did like a little fight club in high school.
Oh yeah, how did that turn out?
Several people with bloody noses. I won mine.
Oh, my fight club.
But
I don't know if you know the first rule of Fight Club, but it's you don't mention it on a podcast.
It's so long ago. It was actually pretty funny because our coaches were really pissed. You know, we were doing it like at the high school gym after hours. You know, stuff that the school could probably get sued for if we weren't careful.
Definitely get sued for. You. Excuse me. There's a fight club in your. There's a fight club going on over here.
It was pretty funny though.
Unsanctioned fights.
It felt just like Fight Club though. You know, you have a bunch of like teenagers all standing around
in a circle. You all just get in the middle.
Like, punch,
That's hilarious.
Beat the crap out of each other.
Yeah. Yeah, but you know, and so what happened after the fight though? Which is really the story of the night. Like the fight itself was, I think it kind of went the way most people predicted it. Like,
yeah,
you know, Khabib was the favorite going in, and his skill was clearly, the dog's going nuts, clearly just what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, he dominated that. But then afterwards, like, Khabib went kind of crazy. Hold on. Come here.
I'll do it. You can describe Khabib.
Yeah, so basically what happened afterwards, if you hadn't seen the fight, was Khabib, he won by a neck crank, got himself super pumped up, was like jawing at Conor afterwards, and then he pointed out, I forget what his name was. Do you remember what the...
Dylan Dennis.
Dylan Dennis, who was Conor's grappling coach, I believe.
Yeah,
Grappling
he's
coach.
Like really good
yeah,
at jiu-jitsu.
he threw his mouth guard at him when they were jawing, and then he jumped over, like climbed over the cage and did like a flying kick into him. Like, if you actually did you see like some of the other like angles of it? Mm-hmm. I didn't realize like he kind of like did like a flying knee at him, like. You know, I mean, like the guy kind of, you know, he didn't like land flush with it or anything because he was just jumping like a madman into like a sea of people, like started fighting him. Then like chaos erupts there. Like two of his, I'll keep describing it. Or a bunch of people from Khabib's like camp jump into the ring for whatever reason, and one of them punched Conor in the back of the head. And then afterwards, it's like, mayhem ensues. They get Conor out of the ring. Dana won't hand Khabib the belt in the ring because he's afraid of like the rioting that will happen. Or people will start throwing things in the crowd. Khabib is escorted out of the ring by like 50 security guards. The Irishmen are throwing beers and stuff at them as they leave. Like, people are booing. There was fights in the street afterwards. I saw a couple that were posted, like almost immediately. Like, people started knocking each other out in the in the stands and out in the concourse. And I'm sure that continued like out into the streets for the night. I haven't even looked on Twitter yet, but I'm sure it's complete and total chaos.
You want to know why I don't like Khabib now
Why?
either? It's because Sean King was defending him.
Well, that's also the thing now. It's turning into a little bit of like a race issue.
Yeah.
And it's not completely invalid. Like, I was thinking about this is actually when I went to bed last night. Like, I was like checking because I was just excited by what I had just seen. Because to me, it was like, I mean, it's totally crazy. It's like you never see stuff like that.
No, I was too.
Yeah, so I was pumped up by what I was watching. I was just like kind of going through like seeing people react on Twitter. A lot of obviously some people were calling out Mcgregor, being like he went into the crowd as well after a fight, but just to like yell at Nate Diaz. He didn't, it was a little more controlled.
No, it
like
wasn't Nate Diaz. It was
Aldo.
Yeah, Aldo.
Yeah, it was Aldo. Okay, my bad. Yeah, so he jumped in, like he jumped out of the cage and started jawing at Aldo in the crowd, but that's a little different.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't like with
he didn't try to kick him in the face as he came out of the.
Yeah. But, I mean, it's sort of similar. People are kind of calling out, like, McGregor for that. But then it started turning into, like, listen to everything that he said. And there are some allegations that, what's his name again? I keep forgetting it. The guy that he attacked, Khabib attacked.
Oh, Dylan Dennis?
Yeah, that Dylan Dennis had said some, like, racial shit to him. I mean.
Oh, bullshit. Like,
I don't know if that's bullshit.
I mean, maybe he did, but, like what racial shit did he say?
Well, actually, I guess
because Khabib is Russian, so
Yeah.
it's not a race thing.
Well, okay, then it's like they were saying some shit. how would you define that? Some Islamophobic shit, like possibly. You know,
Possibly.
that's the way people. I mean, like that's what the conversation turned
it's
into.
not a race though.
Okay, yes, you're right. That was I definitely misspoke. But yeah, so it turned into something like possibly Islamophobic isn't really a good way to describe it either. But
it's somebody talking shit. The problem with this is when you have Sean King behind you, like Khabib's a badass. Sean King's a giant pussy. Mm-hmm. So anything that he says to defend you is gonna make you look like a pussy.
Yeah, but
he was calling out his religion and he was talking shit, getting in another fighter's head. Clearly, you know nothing about fighting because you got your ass whooped in high school.
Not Dylan Dennis though. If Dylan Dennis was saying something like he shouldn't be talking because he's not going to get into the fight with him, you know, it's like you're just a fuck. You know, if Dylan Dennis was calling him a terrorist at that point, which I don't know.
Yeah, and who knows? Like,
which I don't know, right, but there? Like let's just say for the hypothetical that he did call him that, then I think Dylan Dennis is a fucking asshole because end of the day your boy just lost. Like, you're not going in there fighting, and you're just, you're yelling like you're a freaking fan. You got to be better than that. Like, you know what I mean? You should have some respect for this dude that's a world champion, or that it's a champion, just dominated your dude, and now you're going to talk shit like you have anything to say to him? Like, you're not on his level. Like, you haven't earned that. And, like, you know what I mean? If this was the old days, he would just, like, beat the shit out. Like, if it was just you two in a room together, he can beat the crap out of you.
He's really good at grappling, though.
Okay, but you know that he would. You know Khabib would beat the crap out of him. You know he would. You think he's like? Well, do you think he's better than Conor? Like the guy he just dominated?
In grappling?
Yeah. Yes. He would. Khabib's stories are of him like handling like all state or like all like collegiate all American like wrestlers like.
He's not a wrestler though. He's like a very I forget what Dylan Dennis like. He brought him in basically. He's like a really big.
Forrest, you're sipping a little too much haterade these days. He's not. No, Dylan Dennis isn't like a contender for nothing.
He's been like about to get into the UFC. I think like he hasn't been in the UFC because he's been doing other stuff with jiu-jitsu.
I just don't think there's any good reason to think that he would. One guy's a champion, the other guy is on the sidelines.
Still, like, you're a champion. You talk about how good you are at, like, not showing emotion and being, like, trying to make the sport better by being respectful and shit, and then you go do that bullshit, you're a fucking hypocrite.
Well, I mean, a hypocrite to what?
To what you said.
Yeah, but, like, you could have, the best version of yourself, like, you don't like to get emotional, but every once in a while, like, you slip up. I mean, I don't... Like,
he slipped up by jumping out of the cage and trying to drop kick somebody.
Yeah.
And then his buddies that hang out with him...
Well, those guys are cowards.
Yeah.
Those guys are, like, those guys are total shitheads. Like, whoever they were, like, that went in there and punched Conor in the back of the head afterwards, like, that was a total, like, totally uncalled for thing to do.
And also, the other thing that pisses me off is all the stories we're talking about how, like, trying to talk shit about Conor, like, because he did the whole thing with the bus. Like, yeah, that was shitty.
That's true. That was the other thing that
was
shitty.
A
hypocrite for.
But the bullshit part of it is, like, they acted like Khabib didn't do something before that happened.
What did Khabib do before the bus? So
Khabib went to a hotel where Conor's boy was at, Artem Lobov, I believe, who's like, either from Russia or something like that. They confronted him and roughed him up by himself. It was a group with Khabib roughed Artem Lobov up. That pissed Conor off. That's why Conor went to that press conference and did that.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, everybody forgets about that part of the story, trying to act like Khabib's all noble and shit. No, Khabib's a little pussy that went with a group of people to attack somebody by themselves and then had something retaliated against him for. So we don't
know that situation entirely. I'm not saying that he's right to like jump a guy. Like when you're like the fact is when you're a fighter, like a professional fighter, you have higher strictures on yourself and like you have to hold yourself to a higher standard of accountability when you're going to engage in physical violence.
That's what he says.
What?
That's what he says. He's like, I watched an interview. He's like, well, we have to be a better role model for kids and like all this bullshit. But like, he doesn't actually believe that. Like, if you're going and attacking people at hotels and shit, like, you don't actually believe that. So I think people should try to act.
Well, I mean, I think you can actually believe it. You just can't, like, you just have trouble always controlling yourself. I mean, we all have ideal standards.
How's he controlling himself? Before all this shit happened, like, going to a hotel and ganging up on one person. How is that?
Well, like I said, I don't know, like, the ins and outs of that situation. So it's kind of hard for me to comment on it one way or the other. I don't think it's right, and like what I was saying was speaking to that point that you should hold himself to a higher standard, for that. But I mean that a fighter has to hold himself for a higher standard when he's going to get when he's going to do that. So like he's like totally in the wrong to do it, even if let's say the guy was like talking shit on behalf of Conor because he was just drawn off for some reason, and like for Khabib it was like disrespect or something. Like, and that's like me. Like totally just embellishing it to make to give him like some sort of benefit of the doubt because I don't know what could have happened. It could have just been like a total like jumping, which would be totally wrong and would change my view of the guy because he does seem generally to be kind of like he does seem sort of like a respectable dude, like outside of that thing that happened last night. Like, he's always talking about his family, and he's like, like he still lives with his parents. He's just like a humble, like, I just want to fight and like just do my job.
His corner being, kind of tied to terrorism too.
Well,
that's kind of
I don't know like what that.
I don't know. The dude seems like a fake as far as that. He's a great fighter. I will not great fighter. I'm saying the other part that people are trying to play up, I don't believe.
Well, the part people are trying to play up that it was racist, and it is like, or that it was. I keep saying racist, but you know what I mean. For some reason I don't like.
That's what Sean King was saying.
I don't like.
He was calling it racism.
Yeah, but like I think it's just like a slip of the tongue when you mean to say it's Islamophobic. It's just like
I just think people.
Like, people, like, they don't usually say anti-Semitic when they mean something, like, against Jewish people. But like, they'll say, like, you're being racist. But, like, it's kind of like a catch-all word for people these days. Like, I am speaking, like, loose with my tongue. You understand what I'm saying.
No,
like, it's certainly, like, it's showing some sort of prejudice towards this guy for...
I'm saying, like, that's part of shit-talking.
Right.
Like,
right.
Because Sean King also tried to call him out, like when he said something to Floyd Mayweather, called him boy or something like that. He tried to like make a big deal out of that. Like, Floyd Mayweather, like, he didn't give a shit.
Yeah, I mean, it is just part of the thing.
Yeah, it's shit talking. It's promoting a fight. Like, Sean King's just such a pussy that he can't understand that because he got his ass whooped in high school.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not fuck Sean King, like, for this conversation, because like I don't like him, or I don't really care what he thinks, like, and like he's not really related to this. He's just some guy.
Well, I think, but that's what everybody's running with now. Like, he said it, so it's like, oh yeah, he's Islamophobic, so let's just attack him.
But like I'm saying, we can talk about whether or not like it's valid to say Islamophobic without talking about Sean King specifically, because like he's just one of a bunch of people who were saying that sort of stuff. Because like he certainly was saying like some shit that would be like prejudiced. I mean, connecting like some Muslim guy.
Everything's prejudiced.
No, not. Why is everything prejudiced?
Everything in shit talking is prejudiced. You're taking something from like that somebody's like a characteristic of them, and you're trying to make fun of it. Like that's just part of shit talking.
Right, and I definitely agree that he had to know what he was getting into. It's like you're dealing with Conor McGregor. Like, this isn't like, like, oh, surprise, surprise, he went out of bounds or some shit. Like, he certainly was, like, to me, he was certainly being, like, prejudiced or Islamophobic. Like, I think but, like, that's part of, of just shit talking.
I just don't agree with he was being Islamophobic.
I mean, I think he was definitely saying some shit like, when you're calling this, this Muslim dude like a terrorist, like you're like that's what you're engaging.
He's calling his partner, who is actually linked to terrorism, a terrorist.
Right, but now, but it starts to get smeared with him, and I think he like knows that. Like, I don't know exactly like what exactly is the link to like terrorism. Like, let's look that up first. That like, but like you're smearing this guy in his corner, like this guy by his like with his corner with that, and it's not like this guy is just like his guy alone. Like he represents other like people in the UFC, but it's going to be an issue if you're throwing around the word terrorist with the guy, in connection to you talking shit to a Muslim dude. Like it certainly is prejudice, but like that'd be, but like you said, that is part of like shit talking. Like you're going for out of bounds, you're going for whatever you think can make them mad, and if you think like attacking somebody's religion or their race might get them mad, then that's certainly part of it. But I don't think. I mean, that wasn't to say that justifies him jumping into the crowd and attacking people, and it certainly doesn't justify his friends, jumping into the thing and attacking Conor. Like, at the end of the day, you need to, I do think there is that higher accountability, and you should know it's like, if you're going, like, to SeaWorld, you're going to get wet sort of thing, You're fighting Conor McGregor, and that's just what he does. Like, it's funny that nobody was saying this before the fight, even though it was, like, he was saying the same, like, he was saying all this stuff before the fight, into lead up of the fight, and nobody was really talking about it because
we just used it to justify his anger.
Yeah, well, like that's what I don't think you can do with that. Like, you can say that it was like prejudice, but it was, because I think it was. I'm pretty.
I just don't see Conor McGregor as a prejudiced person. I think he uses it all just for psychological warfare.
Right. Well,
so it's not prejudice. It
is like person. If
it's just using
like,
it.
Okay, but you're still like if I said to you like, let's say you were Hispanic, right? And I'm about to fight you, and I start calling you like, all right, like you're Mexican. I start saying like, yeah, hey, why don't we deport you? Like you like spick or all this other like crap like that, or meaner.
You start using racial, like
that to me would be like what he was doing. Say like, oh, well, he doesn't actually believe that. He's just saying it to get in his head, which might be true, but
he doesn't use racial words though.
But like the thing about calling him a terror about with the terrorism, that is that. Like that is like it's just a different kind of slur. If you're talking to some just some out in the world like Muslim guy and you're saying like terrorist to him, and he's just a dude, like he's just a fighter. It's like clearly you're like you're using you're just using a different kind of slur. To like about his people. Mm-hmm. Like that's what the argument is. Like I'm not saying that justifies his anger, because like you were saying, you have to know it's coming. It's like we all know that Conor McGregor is going to be that guy, and it's just part of his game. Part of his game is to try and get you upset, try and get you more emotional and more and psych you up out of a fight, so you're not fighting in the way you usually would. Mm-hmm. So I mean,
I still don't think you can say it's prejudice.
I mean, to me, it certainly is. Like, it certainly is, but that doesn't like I can agree with that point. But if they're making the next thing, like then he's allowed to jump to the crowd and like kick his, and kick whatever the guy's name was in the head, and it's okay that his guys jumped in the thing and attacked Conor. If that's your next that's the next like step in your logic, I don't agree. Like that point A doesn't lead to that point B, but just to say like plain in fact, he was calling him a terrorist. That's clearly a slur. Yeah. But like it's just part of everything he did, and like and like Khabib said afterwards. It's like it wasn't just that. It wasn't like he was focusing on that. It was just part of like the general barrage of shit I'm throwing at you to get you mad. You're a, you hang out with terrorists. Your dad's a coward. Your country stinks. Whatever. He said all those things to varying degrees. He said you're a pussy, and he's gonna put you on the canvas. I mean, he is just talking shit. Yeah.
No, I mean, it looks like what Conor McGregor was talking about was his Khabib's manager, like he's got a criminal rap sheet, charges of counterfeiting, forgery, criminal impersonation, check and credit card fraud, multiple cases of assault, burglary, auto theft, and harassment. And I guess
boy,
when he was
what a winner.
Yeah, when he was in prison, maybe it says, and then 25-year-old Abdelaziz was spending time in prison for all the charges against him in 2002. He was recruited by the NYPD as a confidential informant to aid their case against a terrorist group based in Virginia. Abdelaziz trained members of this extremist organization in martial arts. He was even married to the sister of a high-ranking member of the organization, and they have a son together. He also became an informant for the FBI overseas. He was given a special green card that allowed him to enter and leave the U.S.
Wow. Holy shit.
So
it's kind of a cool story. Well, but there you go. There you go. He's working with the police.
However, his credibility as an informant was diminished after he failed a polygraph test administered by the FBI, so the NYPD severed all ties with Abdelaziz.
Inadmissible.
Unsuccessfully tried to deport him. So.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
Still, he was calling him a terrorist because of that, which that does not.
Actually, he said he was He said he was a terrorist snitch.
Yeah, well, he thought like that's yeah. He did say that, but that's. I mean, I think he was clearly trying to use that as a slur against him and to like.
Well, yes, a slur, but I don't think it was. I don't know, man. I'm not for that. I'm not for the whole oh well, he said this, so it. Therefore, all this is, we can just rail against him now because he said this thing. It's I don't give a shit.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're saying, you don't want people now to be, attacking Connor for, what he said. I mean, obviously, they're going to. That's going to become the thing. And I don't know, though, if you can say it's, yes, it's out of bounds of civil conversation, but they're about to get into a cage and fight each other. That would be my thought on it. It's they're cage fighters. You're about to get into the most primal, physical, you know what I mean? You're fighting a dude. The only way you can get a level up is if you were fighting to the death. That's it. That's all there is to go. In terms of things that humans can do, to battle out with each other, there are so to put out of bounds in that context to me is I don't know. Those the rules of civil society, they don't apply to this thing because in civil society we're not punching each other. We're not attacking each other. Yeah. So I mean, like I said, it doesn't. If people are trying to use that to justify what Khabib did, and that's not right either, because the guy has to have accountability for for his actions.
What they're trying to do right now.
Yeah, and that part I don't agree with. Like I said, I can agree with the first issue raised that he was saying, but it's always that same sort of thing though. It's hey, do words give you justify, and especially when it's when most of the stuff was coming from Connor. Did it come I don't know if one thing came from that guy there, but certainly it's okay, so Connor said some stuff, and after you cranked it, you nearly cranked his neck off his skull and punched him, then you attack his teammate.
Didn't release either until the ref made him.
Yeah.
So that's another thing.
He was pissed.
Yeah, he was pissed. So he did that, and then the other thing is too what I kept reading over and over and over again. Well, this man insulted his religion and his father and all this stuff. It was yes, he did. And then they fought.
Yeah.
That's part of it. So you fought him. You won.
You would think that'd be the end.
Yeah, you fought him. You got what you should have gotten.
You fought him and you beat him.
Yeah. Then you decided to do something else. So therefore, you cannot justify it with that.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, it's not something.
If he was just saying it and they weren't going to fight, then maybe I could see it, him getting pissed and doing something outside the cage. But
what he did was not justified, and this was what we were saying last night. It's sad that You know, and this was the point that Joe Rogan was making, like at the end, and it is, and like it's right that it's sad that it's going to mar him. It's going to mar his career now. Like he's going to get. I mean, who the hell knows what they're going to do? Like he's going to get some sort of suspension. He might lose his belt because of this. You know, people are going to view him differently for acting that way. You know, in a way that was just terrible for the sport. It diminishes the night because now nobody is it'll probably get more fans because it's going to get attention. It's like this event, like the event was way more interesting like afterwards. Like so people like that's something to talk about now. But it's going to hurt them in terms of like their image they want to present. You know, I don't think they want to be WWE. Like I don't think that's what Dana White is looking for with the UFC. You know, maybe it is, and then in that case, like mission accomplished. You are what you are, and but I don't think that's what he wanted. And like nobody's gonna be talking about we saw a bunch of great fights before that we talked about in the beginning of the podcast. That I think for most people it's gonna go like you're gonna kind of forget it. Mm-hmm. Like, sure. Instead of being like, wow, that was just a great night of fight, it's going to be like, holy Jordan, you see that, man? They were crazy. So, I mean, so that's all. So, I mean, it's all bad because of that, as interesting as it was. But, I'm curious to see what people, like, the conversation's already getting started, but I'm curious to see where it goes. I don't think you should try to justify what the guy did. You could two things can be like true at once, as they say.
Also, it was funny
too. It was wrong. He was being out of bounds and was being he was saying slurs against them, but that doesn't mean you get to just oh well, you said something. You said something before fight, so now I get to fight your corner. Obviously that makes no sense.
It's also the thing. Like I've seen a couple videos come up of you see Conor start going over the cage as well. And then, one of his, because they're basically trying to say, Conor threw the first punch when he got,
You mean at the fight?
Yeah. So, basically, after Khabib went over, Conor ran over there and jumped on the fence and was on it. And one of Khabib's guys jumped on the fence, right by him, and Conor swung at him. Really? And people are trying to say, well, for one, it's people are trying to say, well, Conor threw the first punch, so he deserved it. It was I'm coming over the fence. His boy gets right in my face, right
I missed there. I missed that. That was total chaos. I missed that, the Conor jumping on the thing and, getting to a little...
So then he gets... Well, and then plus Conor's getting pulled by one of the security guys at the same time as that guy jumps up on the fence. So, I don't know. It's one of those things that is just annoying. People are just trying to make Conor look like the bad guy. Which he talks shit.
I said they were both the bad guys. Yeah. Although
that's what
I think you can make a clear case that Conor's the bad guy.
Well, yeah, no,
at least before the fight,
both of them did shit.
Definitely before the fight, Conor's the bad guy.
Also, this is I mean, he's not getting it now at this point, but this is what makes those big money fights is that shit talking. If you want to make money in that sport and you want to further that sport, that's how it happened, was Conor McGregor. That's the only reason you're getting paid anything is because of Conor McGregor.
Well, not anything, but obviously having him in there raises the purse. There's no
before he fought Conor McGregor, Nate Diaz was making $20,000 on the fights. After he fought McGregor, he was in the millions.
$20,000? Is that it?
It was pretty low.
That's got to be low.
It's.
I mean, I'll believe you until I see otherwise. But that's crazy.
I mean, it might be a little bit higher than that, but these people weren't getting paid that much.
No, listen, I don't.
And Conor McGregor changed that.
Definitely.
So y'all can talk shit about him. Y'all can hate him as much as you want. That man lifted your sport out of nothing.
Yeah, well, not out of nothing, but he's good for the sport. Having somebody who's in there that everybody wants to watch is good for the sport.
I mean, come on. The UFC was not very big.
No, it was. I mean, it's I mean, it's still not very big. It's still like, a second tier sport. Like, it's still like soccer or something.
He brought that much higher than it was.
No, I mean, Conor, like I'm not disagreeing with that. Conor's good for, he gets people attracting, like, and you need stars to sell fights or to sell any sports. You need people that are charismatic and that people like have an interest in seeing them do stuff.
And now that he's not as big as he is, like, that sport's not going to do as well.
Well, I don't know if they'll lose that. I mean, I think some people like they start to. At least, like, I guess what you hope is, that, they get in because, like, ooh, they see this Conor guy. He's so funny. And, like,
Now you have Khabib, who doesn't say anything. And
but
his
then,
fights are fairly boring, to be honest.
I don't know. This one was a little... Because Conor was actually doing a pretty good job defending him.
Yeah.
Defending against him, I mean. So, like, it kind of neutralized himself out. But watching him, like, destroy, like... When I rewatched, like, I didn't get to see the Quinto fight again, but I saw the Barboza and the Anthony Johnson. Was that the other guy he fought? I saw those fights. I thought that was fairly, I mean, it's fairly cool to see somebody just totally dominate a dude physically like that.
Yeah.
Like this dude, like, seeing like some shredded up, like, professional fighter dude just get like ragged all around and beat to crap. Like they're showing those clips of his face beforehand. He's just like, like, I mean, that's pretty cool to me. I enjoy that.
And also, like, this isn't the first time that, like, this kind of stuff gets played up. Like, because it happened with Conor too. Like, Conor's this great fighter, and like they just play it up.
Play what up?
And like Ronda Rousey was a great fighter. They just play the hype up, and then somebody always comes out that's better.
Right.
Like, so somebody will find something that Khabib is not, like, find a way to stop Khabib, because it happens every time.
Unless he retires, like, undefeated,
Well, he's a pussy if he retires undefeated.
Well, I mean, once he's not like he had a short career. He's getting to his 30s. Like if you stay into the sport till you're 40, like, you're gonna lose, but wouldn't really prove anything.
Well, no, but I mean, like,
one way or the other.
If he retires, like, very soon, I think he's a pussy.
If he retires very soon, possibly.
Like, because, I mean, you can say Conor McGregor is 30. Like, I mean, he could have just been like, I'm good. Made my money.
Yeah, but, like, at some point you start to lose it physically. Like, it depends. It really, I mean, to me, it depends. Like, when you retire and, like, what are their conditions. Like, you can retire undefeated legitimately. Mm-hmm. Like, because if you're fighting...
Well, yeah, I mean, of course.
If you're fighting 37-year-old Khabib, are you fighting Khabib? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you didn't fight this guy that's in the cage now, like, mauling people. But, so... I think he's still got it. I want to see him fight, He should at least fight Ferguson, right? Like... Yeah,
I don't see Ferguson doing anything against
him. No, I don't see
Ferguson's going to get his ass.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're gonna tumbleweed out of some stuff and do some, like, little backflips and some capoeira, do some stuff like that, see if you can get out of it. But I severely doubt he'll do anything. Yeah. But I think he deserves it because it was his belt before before he got injured, and he just beat the Pettis to get the shot. So I'm sure they'll fight next.
Yeah.
And then after that, who's left in the division to fight him? Like, what else does he have to prove? He just dominated McGregor, who was like...
I mean, there's still a lot of people he hadn't fought, though.
Like, I mean, I like to see it.
Names that he hasn't fought.
I'd like to see it. I'll say that. I'd like to see it.
Like, because, I mean, I don't know if I see anybody that could really hang with him, but, like, I mean, there are a lot of names that he hasn't fought.
Right, but like, names of people that are being thrown around, they're like, oh, they have a legitimate chance. Like, you and me both just said, like, the guy who is probably next in line to fight him, we don't really think he's got a chance.
Yeah. Who do you think would have a legitimate chance?
I'd have to think about it and, like, research it. Right now, like, I just don't see anybody, or at least, like, I mean, it's not that I'm the most, like, in-depth, like, commentator. Like, ask me.
I think Nate Diaz might.
Maybe. I'd have to see how he looks these days. But we're getting close to our Do you want to just quickly tell everyone why Damon Wayans is a douche? Since I don't know nothing about this.
Just want to throw it out there.
Yeah, if you just want to
ruin a great show.
Like, hold on, this is a PSA. Do. God,
Damon Wayans is a giant douche because he ruined a great show. If y'all haven't watched Lethal Weapon, you should watch the first 2 seasons and then understand that Damon Wayans ruined that show because he's a jackass.
Go on.
He got the main guy who plays Riggs, which is already like a crazy role to have to try to fill.
Yeah.
Because, Mel Gibson.
Stepping into Mel Gibson's psych ward shoes.
And he actually did a really good job.
Psych ward footsies.
Didn't play it quite as crazy, but did do a very good job of, like, turning what was supposed to be just like a crime cop show into, like, something that had a little bit more depth to it. And put a lot into that role. Damon Wayans didn't even want to be there.
Yeah, you said...
So basically ruined the show.
You said that he went into, like, the network pitching another show.
Yeah. Got told about this show.
Yeah. He took the Lethal Weapon thing, like, hoping it was like, I can give you one thing and then you'll make the show that I want to make. And he didn't think Lethal Weapon would get picked up. Didn't think it had any legs.
Exactly. So did that. Got the main dude fired. So they killed off Martin Riggs out of Lethal Weapon.
Riggsy.
So they pretty much killed the show at that point anyway. But then bring in Sean William Scott, who's, I think he's funny, but playing a CIA guy who's supposed to be like a badass does not quite seem right role for him to me. I don't know. Could be wrong. Hadn't watched the 3rd season. I'll have to watch it.
I bet you he does a good job. He's actually turned into a little bit of a better actor as he's gotten older.
No, I mean,
he's
I
always
like
been
him.
good.
Apparently, he's a great dude.
Yeah, he's a cool dude.
Maybe.
Allegedly.
But
allegedly a good dude.
after the 3rd season, no, from everything I've heard from interviews and everything, he's been great.
Allegedly.
But
Alex, we just start saying that after good things, you know? You can't just say allegedly after bad things. Hey, he's a nice guy, allegedly. He's alleged to be loved by his family.
So then, after all that, gets the main dude fired, does one more season with Sean William Scott, and then he's leaving the show.
Yeah. Well, he's like, I can't kill this show. He's like, I should have just done the thing I should have done in the beginning and just not taken it.
Yeah.
It's like, this Lethal Weapon, this name is just too good.
Oh, I will say, though, like, I was listening to Crawford talk about it. His name's Clayne Crawford, the actor. And he basically, like, they had this one clip of him going off on, like, a director, and that's what they used to kind of, like, blackmail him into, like, always behaving and shit on set. But then, apparently, like, the one episode that he got to direct, Damon Wayans was being, like, a real asshole, like, not showing up, called in sick one day, and then just, when he came back, he was like, hey, man, you feeling all right? And he's like, oh, we just all needed a day off. And then, like, something happened with an explosion, and, like, a little piece of shrapnel kind of, like, hit him, and so, like, he freaked out about that.
He just got a little bit of shrapnel on his head.
Yeah, so then all that happened, and then so like there's a scene, but he's in a cop show. After that scene, he said he refused to hold a gun, he refused to run at all, and he refused, like, he just basically said, like, you have to film my stunt double doing everything.
There you go.
And so then, like, they get into a car together, I think, and like so, Clayne Crawford just decides to just like start talking shit to him. Basically, and apparently they were recording because you're mic'd up all day, and he's just like, dude, he calls him a pussy.
Damon Wayne calls
Clayne Crawford called Damon Wayans a pussy, and then Damon Wayans was like, suck my dick, and Clayne Crawford was like, my son could have taken that hit better yesterday. Talking about the shrapnel piece,
yeah,
like my son could have taken that better, and he's 11, something like that, and then he's like, fuck you, and then Clayne Crawford's like. He's like, how does it feel to only be in acting because your brother was good at it? Or something like that.
Well, you'll say this then. The guy definitely wasn't doing a good job de-escalating the situation.
Well, no. So, like, he tried before that. But this was, like,
allegedly.
right at the end. Allegedly. Whatever. No, but, like, seriously, like, to hear, like, the other side of it. Because, like, what Fox ran with was just, like, Clayton Crawford's a piece of shit. Like, you can't work with him, like, all this shit. There were several other people that left that show, actors, after they fired Clayton Crawford.
Yeah.
Like, big names on it, too.
Yeah.
So, like, and I believed it, too, at first. Like, I was like, man, that sucks. Like, he was a really good actor, he was really good at that role. You know, and I thought maybe it was, like, another Christian Bale thing. Like, you know, it's just, like, one of those actors. He's
they get temperamental.
Like,
too big for their britches.
Yeah. But then I, like, listened to him talk about it, and was like, man, I don't see that happening. Like, it sounds like, because there were several people, too, that came out and was like, no, Damon Wayans is an asshole to work with. So.
Yeah. Well, he certainly didn't, you know, I think there's a diplomatic way to handle that situation that could have probably kept him on and got...
See,
he should have just...
That's how I would have reacted, though. I would have just called him a pussy.
You just like seeing someone out in the media, out there.
Well, like, if you're acting like a pussy, you need to be called out on it. That's what I think.
The Boothian school of conflict escalation. No, you don't validate, you don't compromise, and you don't back down. You call him a pussy.
That's how you get people, you know, like Sean King. You just have to tell him.
I think that's a good way to bring it full circle. No. Say no.
Oh, also, real quick before we end.
Okay.
Brett Kavanaugh is a Supreme Court justice.
Yeah, so just as you all could have guessed, or as anyone who knew anything, or anybody who paid even a little bit of attention could have guessed, it all went exactly. It's like all the Democrats voted one way, and all the Republicans voted the other way. Well, it's a good thing we went through all that.
Good thing we ruined a man's life.
Yeah, it was all worth it. Another day, another dollar. Do. All right. Peace.
Alrighty. Had to get that one in there.
Yeah, I actually forgot about that. Okay, and thank you for listening. Do you want to thank them?
No.
So ungrateful.